Oh, is he a release date on here? He didn't have a release date on his name. Oh, that had to be.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give it another minute here. This is our almost the end of volunteer week. I'm sure everybody has big picnics and parties planned for tomorrow. But right now, we are here to talk about the Greater Good Charities, the Jackson Galaxy Project, Cat Positive program with our friends from 5 Acres Animal Shelter in Missouri. We're joined today by Nikki, who is the feline manager over at the shelter, Risa, who is a new staff member, and Regina, a new, actually Risa, I don't know if you are new. And
not that new to the program.
Regina, who's a new volunteer there. And then also they've brought their friend Sirius to help show us how it's done. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Nikki. And
hi, everybody. We're so excited to talk to you about this program. It's absolutely amazing. So anyone who wants to get involved, we always love talking about it. So you guys will probably have to tell us to stop talking at some point because there's a lot of cool stuff that goes into this program. We made a little PowerPoint for everyone. So let me figure this out real quick for you guys.
Feel free to drop questions in the chat as we go, or to unmute and ask your questions.
All right, so Cat Positive. So what is Cat Positive? So Cat Positive is an amazing program that was developed by Jackson Galaxy and a team of his animal behavior experts. The program teaches staff, volunteers, everyone at the shelter how to enrich cats' life and how to make them more adoptable. A lot of people tend to do the pet, brush, and this program teaches you how to bond with a cat in a completely different way from that. So I'm gonna let Risa talk a little bit. She has been with 5 Acres for just over a year now, but she is very new to the training program. So she's gonna kind of talk to you guys about what it's like getting involved with little to no experience.
Yeah, so when I came into this, I was the only one who hasn't done it before. We're in a refresher course right now. So it kind of was intimidating that everyone else knew everything, and I was, nervous about if I even would figure out how to do it right. But the great thing about this program is there's lots of videos and resources that are available that you can go back to at any time and ask questions or find the information there. So you're never really just like on your own at all. Initial uncertainty is something I really ran into. I was worried I would somehow mess the cat up. I don't know how that would be possible just by spending time with them, but it is nerve-wracking that you're going to do something wrong. So a big thing that helps with that is picking the right cat for you. This program can be for any kind of cat. There's training that suits each one. So maybe a super shy one or one with too much energy. It kind of just depends what you're looking for. And that'll help you develop your own personal style of training, how you like to interact with the cats the best way. And then the great thing about this is, even though you start out uncertain, the first time you see any progress in the cat, it just motivates you to keep going and to do more for them because you can see it make a change for them and move them closer to getting adopted.
And this is Marco, by the way, featured in the picture. She came into us as semi-feral. You really could not touch her. She enjoyed being as far away from humans as possible. One night, our closet where we keep all of our linens didn't get shut, and she became our closet cat because we could not physically get her out. So the door stayed open, and that's kind of when she fell into the program. Now, as you can see, she high fives. She comes to us on command. Anytime she gets a little sassy or worked up, we just ask her to touch, and she turns into a completely different cat instantly. She's very social when we're open to the public now. It's a pretty amazing change that we've seen with her in a very short amount of time.
Yesterday she was following me around because I had a treat.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very food motivated. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the program has helped us with returns as well as in foster homes. So we deal a lot with people wanting to turn cats in because of inappropriate urination, or they adopted this cat when it was 6 weeks old and it's always been a single cat, but now it bites. Senior cats when they come in because somebody adopted a new kitten and the kitten's too much for the adult. And all of the resources you gain from this program has helped us. And I cannot tell you how many owner surrenders I have been able to deny because we've given them resources from this program, and these training methods have helped them keep these cats in their houses. Obviously, there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't work out, but I would say probably a minimum of 3 to 5 surrenders get denied a week because people are taking these training methods into their houses. People who have never gone through this program, people who are literally just talking to me over the phone, or maybe pop into the shelter for 5 to 10 minutes and get a quick training session. And now these cats are able to stay with their families. The other thing that's been amazing is our foster homes. We recently took over a local animal control. So we are getting a ton of feral cats in. Obviously in the winter, they are near impossible to place into barn homes. And so those cats are having to sit there, where now we have a ton of behavior foster homes that have opened up, people who have learned the clicker training methods and now are making these cats adoptable, getting them adjusted to people, and they're able to come back to the shelter and have a very small adjustment period and are able to get adopted as an indoor cat, where, before we would have to hang on to them, hope a barn home opens up in the summer, and that's not fair to any cat. It's also helped us a ton with senior cats. We have a bonded pair of cats right now. They're about 10 years old. We're an owner's surrender. They did amazing at first. We were actually shocked at how well they were doing. And then about 2 weeks later, they shut down. They did the typical senior cat thing. They heated the shelter. They did everything to get away from the other cats. They started fighting. One of them started peeing everywhere. We taught one of them how to high five. Anytime he gets really worked up or gets a little weird with anyone, you can ask him to high five and something clicks in him and he turns around. It's also helped a lot with a lot of our depressed cats. We use it a lot in our feline leukemia area. Cats that just don't feel good, they are just off that day. And asking them to touch and then giving them those chin scratches or a piece of chicken that they really want has helped tremendously as well.
Okay, so my turn. So I kind of wanted to go back as a volunteer. I've been with 5 Acres for about 10 years. And at one point I was the only one doing any kind of real enrichment, which was really frustrating because they would connect with me, but they wouldn't connect with other volunteers or people coming in as much. And it was a lot of cats in a small space. This is a picture of our old building and my first actual foster.
Can I stop for a second? We're still on the first slide.
Oh, that's weird.
So I was like, oh, maybe they're just telling stories. And then when you said, this is a picture of our other shelter, I was like, oh, wait. So what we can see right now is the cover slide, the slides on the side, and then also the document recovery window.
Well, that's weird. Let me try again.
Sorry about that. We probably
That's
just
good
missed some.
Yeah, it'd be helpful if you could see what we're doing. Present online.
All right, so there I can see your mouse and I can see the why should volunteers get involved? But it still also shows like the document recovery window and the series of slides.
Okay. What about now?
No change.
Do you see anything different?
Nope.
I think it's just not sharing the slideshow. So just
You can do it from this one.
leave it like that.
We'll just leave it like this. That's fine.
All right. So you want to back up and work us through the slides a little again?
Yeah, so this was the first one we were talking about, Marco, the one that came in semi-feral, who no one could really touch and moved her way into our linen closet. And now she can high five, she'll touch on command. This was our foster home and intake picture. Featured is a cat named Pippy. She was in our program when we originally went through the Pearl program. She came in extremely crazy, very aggressive, hated all of us, and then ended up becoming a total rock star and learned how to run agility courses. And it was so cool to watch. Okay, Richie.
All right, so this is me with a cat named Petey. He kind of started everything over here. And this was a small training we had for some volunteers just to kind of get them more involved and show them other ways of interacting with the cats. It was a pretty crowded space. The cats really didn't get as much attention as they do now, especially with Cat Positive. And so it was more maintaining the silence, like the calmness, as opposed to enriching their lives and giving them things to do and making them more adaptable to people coming through. So the biggest thing I've noticed is just in general, our cats, we have our main floor and then we have our separate rooms. The cats benefit because they're getting their energy worked out mentally and physically. They're not interacting with each other negatively as much as they used to. It's not very often we have fights. And we used to have a lot more. And then also the time it takes, staff is trained now, they know what to do, but they don't always have time to do it. Whereas volunteers, like we get done cleaning and we have some extra time after that, or we come in specifically for enrichment and we have all of that space to work. Or if we foster, we have tons of time at home to kind of work on it and help shy cats or whatnot. And I've taken a whole bunch of shy kittens, like 6 months old, and brought them back and got them adopted out. So really with Cat Positive, it's just getting in there. It's just reading the cat, getting to know cat behavior. If you do the program, it definitely refines everything you may already know and just adds to it and increases your knowledge of everything to the point where you kind of instinctively know, okay, that cat could use this, or this cat could definitely use more of that. And so you can let staff know and they can add it to the list, or tell other volunteers, like, this is what I've been doing with this cat and it's really working, so let's try this. At the same time, there are going to be cats that you don't click with, but if you have a whole group learning all at the same time, someone in that group is going to connect with that cat. And so they just need that one person to start up, and then you start to branch out and kind of grow the cat's trust with one person, then 2 people, then an adopter comes by and they get a high five and they're like, whoa, didn't know cats could do that. So So it's really exciting to kind of see that change with the cats over time, with you, then with other people. And then, you know, they go home and they stay home, they don't come back. So really it's just seeing what you already have that you can work with and then encouraging each other to join. I've done it by myself and I've done it with a group, and it's way better with a group. I'll let you know that much, that's for sure. And then really the benefits, we already talked about a bunch of them. The cats are more relaxed. It definitely makes your shelter look good. I've won a contest for my cats high-fiving at the same time. I won 10,000 bowls of food for the shelter. So, and I've entered, I think, 3 years now, and we've done really well. And if you get it on the news, that's even better. And I know it's definitely been in the news with Jackson and stuff. So yeah, it's just, there's really no downside to doing cat positive. It's awesome.
We're going to show you guys now a couple before and afters. Some of our more recent cats who have come in, we've had so many go through this program, but we're going to show you some of the more severe ones recently. We're going to let Regina talk about them because, again, she does do a lot with this program as a volunteer. She spends, oh my gosh, like 5 to 7 hours at the shelter a week. And then on her off weeks from work, she's here even more. And so she donates a ton of time to these cats. So she's going to kind of talk to you about these.
All right, so this is Mr. He was feral at our other location, and he'd already been ear tipped, like you see up there. He wanted nothing to do with us. He wouldn't look, he wouldn't accept treats, he wouldn't come out from the corner. And it was really a struggle to figure out what to do. And like it says on the screen, we were about to do a barn home. And I was just like, well, let's try some play or something. So I just got a pipe cleaner and I just drug it around, and he started watching it. And I was like, okay, you're watching it. And so then I put some treat in, I left, and then I came back and it was gone. And so that's kind of when we started trying to figure out, okay, let's try cat positive. Let's see how it goes. And slowly he was coming up. There were definitely times where he swatted at me and said, back it up, a lot. But over time, he was like, I kind of want the treat more than I want you to go away. And the more that happened, the more he wanted to work for it reluctantly. And eventually we were able to get I don't remember, I know there was another volunteer that was helping, and probably staff popped in to try to do some of the training too, to branch out, because that's definitely what you want to do, is the more people, the better eventually. And to the point where he was sitting up at the front of the cage, saying hello to everybody. He was climbing up to the top and staying there, which he wouldn't do normally. And we had a lady come in that wanted a cat just like him. And so he got to go home, and as far as I know, he's doing great. Haven't heard anything negative, so he's doing really great at home. Rosso was one of my buddies. He was a TNR from another rescue. They thought he was really friendly and he could be easily placed, so we took him. And then sadly, right after that, he had some ear issues. And we didn't know right away because it was like overnight, I think. We couldn't handle him the next day when he was in his cage in the back. And so we were like, well, I thought this was a friendly cat, and it's not. And we finally realized that there was something wrong with his ear. And so once he started getting the medication, he started feeling better. But he was still scared of us because staff was having to medicate him, and that didn't feel good. So I would go in and do some just simple touch, which is the first step in cat positive, and kind of just getting used to someone who wasn't going to medicate him, wasn't going to hold him, or have to handle him in any way. And once we started the program, he kind of started figuring it out, and he was high-fiving and coming up to the front of the cage. And my friend's son actually adopted him, so I get updates from time to time, which is really cool.
We were able to use Cat Positive for medicating him too. Once he started picking up some of the commands, we could use those commands to distract him long enough to get eardrops into him.
And Jeff. Jeff came in with about, I think there were 7 others, all from a hoarding situation. And they were all kind of at varying levels of socializing. Definitely did not understand where they were and what was happening, and it was scary. And Jeff was probably the worst one, I would say. Bismarck is with him in the top picture, so they were kind of neck and neck for a while. Where Bismarck started to kind of slowly open up a little bit more, Jeff wasn't having it. So we did some training here, and then I ended up taking him home. And just did training, got him around my cats eventually once he was settled in. And then it's really funny because one thing I didn't mention before was when you have one cat that's training and then you get a new cat nearby and they're like, hey, what's going on over there? That treat smells pretty good. So then they want to figure out, what do I have to do to get that treat? So Jeff was following my cats in training and learning high-fiving and sitting and coming to me. He finally got on the couch after like a year. And so I got to see it from start to finish because technically he's still my foster. But it's just really amazing because especially for a cat like Jeff, they learn something new every day. They come a step further every day, and it all started with Cat Positive.
All right, guys, that is what we have for you.
That's awesome. Do you guys want to turn video back on?
There we go.
One of the things, I encourage everybody to ask questions, but one of the things that really kind of stood out to me that you mentioned was that prior to this program, it was really like, let's keep the cattery quiet and peaceful, and let's not really disrupt everyone and let them kind of do their own thing. And the Cat Positive program really sort of shifted that to, let's make cats interactive and let's make them more adoptable and let's help them not just hide out in silence. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that change?
I'll let Regina talk about it because I was not here for that. I came like right before we started Cat Positive. So Regina saw the before.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique perspective. And it's kind of fun to know that backstory because you can see the change from beginning to end in a unique way. Yes, we tried to keep it calm. We tried to keep it quiet. We basically just didn't want to fight. And while it worked in some respects, we had cats that stayed for years. And I think if we had been in the program then, we wouldn't have had them that long. Ooh, I don't know where this came from, sorry. But it's true. I used to know everybody's story and I could recite it over and over. I don't remember hardly anybody's story except for Jeff's, and that's because I have him still. So I actually am surprised at how much I like not knowing where they came from, because it means they're not staying long. And it's really sad to see a cat. We had a cat in our office. Apparently we got when she was 2 and she died here at 17 years old, and that should never happen. So Cat Positive is awesome.
It has really, really helped our length of stay. I mean, because absolutely because of cat positive. We took over animal control, and so we're getting a lot of cats in that we know nothing about. They are coming from a shelter where they are surrounded by dogs. They're in a garage. It's loud. It's chaotic. They have people they don't know handling them. They were probably trapped by animal control, total chaos. And they're coming to our shelter, and we have this huge unknown of what we're jumping into. And now staff and a good chunk of our volunteers immediately knows how to handle that cat. That cat from day one gets the kind of enrichment and socializing it gets, or that it needs to get to become adoptable. And so these cats are not staying here long. We, in January, the weirdest month of all months, we did 82 adoptions. It's amazing how much this program helps your length of stay. I mean, these cats honestly come in your shelter today and are adopted tonight or tomorrow. It's absolutely amazing. And if you have a cat that is a little more shy going home, you have all of these resources to send to people. And it's something people have never heard of. And so they're super excited to do it. It's so rare that we get an adopter in where they're like, oh, we'll just kind of see what happens. They're like, oh, okay, well, how do I teach it to do this? Or what do I do with this? And we send clickers home with people, and people get very excited about it.
Can I ask a question? My name is Maya, and I am from a rescue organization in North Carolina. We do have a brick and mortar building. We pull most of our cats and dogs from county shelters, open admission shelters. So I'm a very new volunteer manager there. And from my understanding, our organization had a very intense Jackson Galaxy program in place. We had some new staff members come on, and they said it was too much, and they stopped the whole program. I have some old school volunteers that have been there for several years who are pushing to bring it back. So I want to ask, how do you guys, some of the complaints that were there was too much documentation that needed to take place to keep this program going. And that was just too much for everybody. It was too much to ask that. So I'm just kind of wondering how you guys can, how do you recommend that we move forward with implementing this, but try to keep the documentation a little less?
So documentation is extremely overwhelming. It honestly, we are a very small team. When we first started the program, it was me and one other staff member and 5 volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 5 volunteers. Me and the one other staff member inputted all of the paperwork, plus had all of the normal shelter day-to-day operations. Overwhelming doesn't even begin to explain it, but it's what's best for the shelter and what's best for the cats. So we just decided that this is what we were going to do, and we were going to make it work. And I mean, there were nights where we were importing data at 9, 10 o'clock at night. In the end, it just becomes habit. Once you're through the program, if you can just get through that program, it honestly just becomes habit. You don't have to input the data into a system for the rest of your life. But these training journals that they're talking about having to enter, I mean, they are life-saving. You have these one person working with it. They can say everything they've done to the cat this hour, and then 2 hours later, you need somebody to step in and know where to take off. You don't want people doing 12 different things. So the data is important in the end, but honestly, staff or whoever inputs it, volunteers, just have to decide it's worth it in the end, which it is, but it is a lot. The program is, I mean, data is definitely overwhelming.
So
Yeah.
one of the things we're really blessed with is that Christy Ruggiero is here today as well, in our audience, who is the head of the Jackson Galaxy Project. And I think that she has something to jump in and say here.
Hi. So Maya, what shelter are you with?
I'm with Pause Forever in Mebane, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I remember working with them. They were really awesome, actually. I have some of my best pictures from them. And they had a really good volunteer team that sort of like came and went because it was a lot of overwhelming stuff. And you were doing the pro version of the program, which is also what 5 Acres did, which is designed for advanced behavior cases and things of that nature. We now, since Pause Forever was part of the program, we have 2 different versions, and both of them require a lot less data to be input. The behavior journals are still a major part of it because it's very important to be able for the cat to, go from one person to another, and that person knows exactly what was being done in the last session, the session before, and then you can use that journal as a way to tell that cat's story when you try to market them and things of that nature. But we've definitely changed a lot of the data requirements. So there are maybe like 20 data points that we get each week, as opposed to 5,000 data points that it might have been back in the day. So we definitely streamlined it. The data collection was for a very particular reason, to make sure that we were getting what we needed in order to grow the program. And now we know the points that are the most important to gather. So if Pause Forever is at all interested in doing the program again, you can do a program that's called I literally just created this year. It's called Cat Pawsitive Incorporated, Cat Pawsitive Pro Incorporated. It's what 5 Acres is doing now. And it's for shelters that previously did Cat Pawsitive Pro, but sort of need a refresher. It actually doesn't have the data input requirement at all. It does require you to use the behavior journals, again, because that's your communication method. But if that's something you're interested in, you can email me at catpositive@greatergood.org, and I'd be happy to get you set up with that.
I'll
And I
email
know
you and we can chat a little bit more, because I have lots of volunteers pushing this, and I'm like, I need to familiarize and make sure that it works for everybody and everybody's on board.
And
So
this is something that's so important for the volunteers to be able, like at 5 Acres, Regina was an essential team member of their Cat Pawsitive Pro team. I mean, I saw her in a mask and I haven't seen her in a million years. I'm like, oh, Regina, like volunteers are so critical to this program working the right way. And especially if your volunteers are interested, I think that the incorporated version of the program will sort of refresh them on everything they need, but help them to run it in a way that makes the most sense for them, that helps them with their scheduling, so that they can lead it for you. You don't have to have a staff member running it. It can be completely volunteer led. So yeah, absolutely, email me.
Okay, thank you.
Christy, since you offered your email, what about for organizations that aren't running this program right now? Do you know when the next enrollment application period is?
Yes, so we open applications every year in September for our January start time. While kitten season has extended a lot in most parts of the country now, we try to focus the primary part of the training in the winter. So the classes run from January through March for our introductory behavior training program, and January through April for our advanced behavior modification program.
Awesome, thank you. I have another question for the 5 Acres team. I'm wondering, you talked about volunteers doing the data entry and those things, like how many cats participate in the program kind of on average, and how many volunteers do you use? And then also, like, how many different tasks do volunteers do for this? I mean, this is Volunteer Appreciation Week, so we got to give the shout out to the Reginas of the world.
So the refresher course that we are in right now, we only have staff in the course because we recently had a huge changeover with team members. So right now it's just team members that are in the course, but the original program was mostly volunteers. I mean, there were only 2 actual staff members in the program. And I mean, they were literal lifesavers. We would have had to have worked 24/7 if they didn't do the program, because you have training times throughout the day. You have 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening that you have to do. And so if volunteers weren't doing those, then that means staff is there constantly with no days off to get those training sessions in. And I mean, it couldn't have been done with just 2 of us. And if you add more volunteers, even if you have a large team, that means you have more cats that you're enriching. We had, like I said, we had 5 volunteers in the original program. And I mean, I can't say enough of what they did for it.
And they do tailor, like each shelter has its own amount of volunteers and its own amount of cats. So they will work with that and kind of tailor it to how much you think you can handle. If you feel like 10 cats is the most you can handle in a week, they're not going to make you go over that.
And we took the original group who did the pro program through Cat Positive, and we ended up doing a huge training session once we completed the class or the course. And we trained a ton of other volunteers who didn't have time to do the actual program with us. And so we trained probably close to 20 or 30 at the time. And I think we have now, from that 20 or 30 group, we have 5 to 10 that come in and do training on a regular basis between here and our animal control location. So honestly, I mean, volunteers make the program, because with a small staff or even a big staff doing your day-to-day operations, you just cannot get all of the training done that you really need to get done.
Is Sirius still there?
He's
Did he
sleeping.
fall asleep?
He's here.
He's doing
Take
what he
a little
does best.
nap.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is he a high fiver?
He is not. He is
He's a free
a
thinker.
lead. Yeah, he's more of a leader kind of guy.
All right, I know there's quite a few people here. Don't be shy. If you have questions, drop them in the chat or unmute. Otherwise, I will just keep going and asking things, because I have to tell you, that moment, Regina, that you had a minute ago, like, made my heart flutter. And I think there's so many opportunities like this throughout sheltering, where we're just going and we're doing what we think is best, and we're just trying to save lives and make things better, and we don't realize what an impact those have on us. And now I'm going to tear up, but to me, it really speaks so profoundly to the benefits of this program. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being brave to be vulnerable and do that. Let's say that I'm a shelter who wants to kind of start doing some clicker training early. I know I feel bad because Christy's here, and I'm just gonna make her keep answering questions, but are there resources online for an organization that's like, you know what, we've got 5 cats, I'd really love to start working with them now instead of waiting for the application period or waiting till the program starts?
So yeah, absolutely. There are. So we have several different handouts. Actually, if a shelter or rescue emails me and says, hey, we're interested in learning about the program, I automatically will send out a clicker training basics handout and how to teach your cat to high five handout, just because why wait, just get started. And then we're actually in the middle of creating a video series teaching you how to teach cats some basic behaviors that are fun. Like, we've got teach your cat to jump through a hoop, which sounds like, and we don't teach it as a, like, here's a circus animal. We do it as, hey, enrichment is really important. And we use Pippy from 5 Acres as an example, because until Pippy was able to get that kind of enrichment where she had something really interesting to focus on, she was kind of like all over the place. And now, you know, she got that focus and she got adopted. You know, these are amazing things. So hoop jumping, really cool for a cat who has a lot of energy to burn and is bored. Teaching your cat to sit on cue, that's just super fun. High five, super fun. But we're also editing a video right now for teaching your cat to go into a carrier on cue, so that you can encourage adopters to be able to take their cats to the vet on a regular basis, and so that you can be prepared for disaster season, depending on where you live. And we're also working on teach your cat to go to place, because if you have a cat who's a door darter and you teach your cat to go to place, you can help to keep that cat safe in your house, out of the shelter, from being picked up by animal control, things like that. So those are all videos that'll be going up on the Greater Good Charities YouTube page. A couple of them are already on there, and then later on this summer we'll have the most recent. But there's tons of material out there from us, and then there's a lot of material online. If you just Google, you know, on YouTube or whatever, clicker training cats, there's tons of material. Not that I don't want you to use mine, but there's a lot out there.
And that's where I started. I started Google, looking up Jackson Galaxy, looking up Pam Johnson Bennett is also a behaviorist that has some ideas. Like, and be creative. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. We had that video of Pippy with the scratchers just knocked over on their side. Like, anything can be used. In the old building, I was constantly rearranging the cat scratchers and the climbing trees and stuff just to give them something different. So, you know.
Yeah, right now we utilize our cat trees on the main floor a lot, and we'll have them jump from tree to tree or, you know, from shelf to shelf.
So the thing that's really great too about this program, I think y'all just demonstrated, is you don't have to necessarily be trained in order to start working with your cats. You don't have to invest a lot in order to start working with cats. I'm pretty sure that a couple of short YouTube sessions and anybody on this call could start working with a cat and clicker training them to high five. I see Kim's cat taking a nap. That cat may or may not be a high fiver, but it's in nap mode. I don't know if you all saw this. I'm gonna swap in. Look at that cutie. All right, do we have any questions from anyone about starting a program like this, or benefits, or how to sign up? I don't know. Anything? All right.
Do you guys feel that this is a program? So I know with COVID, we had a lot of volunteers that stopped coming in to our facility. And now that we're getting hopefully on the other side of it, we are definitely in a different place in North Carolina than Missouri or Oklahoma. I just visited Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, and they're in a way different place than we are still in North Carolina as far as how they're dealing with things. But we're just really starting to have volunteers come back in, and they're very sporadic. So do you feel like this is a program that you would bring back and start when you don't have consistent volunteers coming in, or is this something that you would wait? Because we'll go 2 or 3 days without having a volunteer come in for the cats. Or do you feel like you can do it with just a couple of volunteers or consistent volunteers?
I think doing the program would be hard if it's not consistent, but just kind of randomly doing it. It doesn't have to be consistent at all, because some enrichment is better than none. And I mean, like Regina said, back in the day before the new team came on, it was just her. So these cats were only getting that enrichment on those days, and she was able to handle them. Your progress might not be as rapid, but like I said, some is better than none.
Okay, thanks.
And that might be the thing that kind of pushes them to, yeah, maybe I need to go back and this can be my thing that brings me back. Like, it could motivate them.
We have had a lot of volunteers. Our volunteers are starting to get vaccinated and slowly starting to come in. The ones that aren't quite ready are signing up for more enrichment shifts than anything, because it's very quiet at our shelter. We have like enrichment hours they can just sign up for, and there's only like 1 to 3 people here. And so that's like the perfect opportunity for them to volunteer, but not have to interact with anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, we're still, we only allow 1 volunteer in at a time, and they have to sign up for it. So we are still at that point, just because we have to limit the amount of people, of course, still in the facility. So
Right.
Yep.
We're hoping to raise that by June, but still I can't get volunteers in there consistently. So I'm hoping to try to get them more engaged and involved. So
Yeah.
And
And
you
I
could
think-
maybe go ahead. I was gonna say you could even maybe do some virtual groups once or twice and invite all the volunteers and just see how many people would be interested.
okay.
It's the whole training part. Like we, once we finish this refresher course, we're going to be doing another round of training our volunteers, and it's all virtual.
Okay.
So
Okay.
We're focused on fosters.
yeah, fosters.
That's what I was gonna say. Don't underestimate the foster volunteers, right? Like, one of the things that tends to happen, especially as we get into kitten season, is that anyone who's fostering adult cats, they sort of linger, right? Because everyone's like, kittens, yay. So if you can get your fosters of adult cats, or maybe your spicy burritos to work with these kinds of things and train their fosters to high five, like, and they get adopted faster, then it frees up that space so that you can have more cats in their homes.
And I will add, especially since I have done fostering and training at home now, having that baseline of training at home and then coming to the shelter and all of this is new, all these people are new, but I know how to sit and I know how to high five and they're doing the same stuff. That helps them transition quicker also.
And you'd probably be surprised, I know I was, we really haven't had behavioral fosters, minus Regina, until this year. And I kind of put a plea out there and was like, you know, if you want to learn, this is something we'd love to teach you. Really didn't expect any kind of crazy response. And I mean, the response was overwhelming. We have a ton of people who will take anything. Yeah, we have a foster right now who has a feral mom who just had babies, and she's working, you know, once she adjusts, she's going to be working on clicker training with her. I mean, utilizing those fosters, and it's been amazing watching these cats go into these homes and just the progress they make before coming back into the shelter. So that'd be another way to utilize the program before volunteers come in person for sure.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Maya, for jumping in.
Yeah, no problem. I have lots of questions, and we so are focused on dogs right now, and the cat volunteers are like, hey, we're still over here. And so I'm trying to make sure, and we have on staff dog trainers, but they don't have like hardly any cat training. So I'm trying to give them those avenues that they can learn more about cats as well. So I think it'd be good for the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, if you have more questions, go for it. We've got like 10 minutes or so left. And I'm sure anything you ask is going to be beneficial to multiple people. So not to put you on the spot.
I think I have some really good volunteers that want to come, but it's the inconsistency of the volunteers right now that was worrying me. So it's good to know that this can still be done even with the inconsistency of the volunteers. So I have a lot of teenagers right now that are doing virtual school still, because a lot of our state is still virtual, and they're coming in. So I have a lot of 16, 17-year-olds. And so these type of things I really think would help, and they're energetic and they love to do this stuff. So
we have a few foster families who have high school kids that they've taught clicker training, and they love it. And there's nothing cooler to them than showing their friends that they taught their cat how to high five. And we have one foster who constantly asks me for more cats because she wants to do stuff like that.
At what age of the cats, because I don't know a whole lot about the Jackson Galaxy program yet, I'm still learning. At what age do you start training the cats?
When they start walking. Really any age.
You can.
Okay.
We didn't utilize the program a lot for our kittens because our kittens just fly out the door. But it is pretty cute seeing a little 8-week-old kitten run up to you and high five.
Yeah, we don't have adult cat fosters yet. I'm also the foster coordinator. That will come eventually. So all we have are kittens and foster homes right now. So
It's a good way to start because they're eager and they're already friendly.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
anything catches their attention. So their reward can be play because they're gonna chase a mouse or chase that one toy. So they get excited a little easier. Where an adult, you might have to play around for 10, 15 minutes before a session to figure out what really intrigues them.
Well, awesome. I'm going to see if do kind of a last call for questions. Nikki, are you interested in throwing your contact information out there or some email address at your shelter in case folks want to reach out to you for questions?
Yeah, of course. I can put it in the chat.
Okay. And we've got Christie's there, catpositive@greatergood.org, as well as the link to the Cat Positive information page on the website. We've got one more call left for Volunteer Appreciation Week. Tomorrow afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. We're going to talk to cat adoption team out of Oregon, and they're fostering for Rock Stars program, which has been nationally highlighted for a little while. They've got the most complete collection of documents that any nonprofit cat rescue or shelter could ever want. They've got job descriptions and budget templates and all kinds of things, and their Fostering for Rock Stars program really highlights the use of volunteers and mentors to save kitty lives. I want to thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Nikki and Regina and Risa, for joining us today from Missouri.
We were so glad to be here, you guys. It was fun.
And special shout out to Christy for jumping in. All right, thank you all so much. Have a lovely weekend. Shout out to all your volunteers. Bye-bye.
Bye.